We've had 24 hours to breathe since the Arizona Cardinals punishing venture over the Tennessee Titans 38-13 in week 1 of the 2021 NFL season. We'll talk stats. We'll talk way too early power rankings that favor the Arizona Cardinals. And I will clarify my Cliff Kingsbury statements on Twitter that have unfollows happening by the second. Alex, Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals.
You are Locked on Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You know, it's been about a year to the day since we felt this great after an Arizona Cardinals game. Alex, Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals. The 49ers game to kick off the 2020 season had kind of this same feeling, especially with how it started. Raheem Mostert's 75-yard touchdown catch and run, making Isaiah Simmons spin like a top. It's like, oh no, what has Steve Keim and the Arizona Cardinals done by drafting Isaiah Simmons 8th overall? They end up winning in week 1. Rejoice. You beat the former NFC champion San Francisco 49ers. It kind of feels like that a little bit, just in a different way. After the 38-13 massacre, the Arizona Cardinals stuck to the Tennessee Titans a couple days ago. But the NFC West is the only team that has 4 teams that all won. You know, it kind of snaps you back to reality right away. And it shouldn't, because every single player, 1 to 53, the whole coaching staff, Steve Keim, Michael Bidwell, should be super excited from what the Arizona Cardinals, put out there on the field on Sunday. But, Bo, we're going to see power rankings very early, just like we saw in 2020 that had the Cardinals NFC Championship, contenders to come out of the NFC. Kyler Murray, MVP buzz, we saw through the first 6 or 7 weeks. And we'll see what happens this year in the murderer's row that the Cardinals are going to have to face. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. Bo put together some great stats he put out on Twitter. I will tell you this. He doesn't do a whole lot for the actual audio of the podcast, but everything that we get on Twitter, image-wise, stat-wise, from our podcast Twitter handle on game day is all him. So you got to definitely give him kudos for that. You've really stepped your game up this year, man.
Thanks, buddy.
You have.
Yeah. I didn't know I was going to get this type of recognition today.
You are.
I wish it was from somebody I respected, but yeah.
We'll balance it out when I'll tell you how wrong you are for the next 28 minutes. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Follow him at Bob Brack. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody that's watching. The numbers are skyrocketing, and we're just doing the same thing we've been doing for 4 years now. And we really appreciate everybody that's coming aboard, whether you agree with us, disagree with us, commenting one way or the other. We really, truly appreciate it. This episode of Locked on Cardinals is brought to you by Locked on NFL Sunday. We love both of these guys that host this show. Ross Jackson from Locked on Saints and Cody Rourke from Locked on Broncos. If you're looking for a Sunday pregame show that talks about every game and every team in depth, you have to check out the Locked on NFL Sunday show live every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. No sketches, no celebrity cameos, no fluff. Just football every Sunday with hosts Cody Rourke and Ross Jackson. Follow and subscribe to Locked on NFL on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And don't forget to turn on notifications to be notified when the show goes live every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. So I do just want to clarify really quickly. We're going to take a couple minutes here because Bo has been in the camp where Cliff Kingsbury deserves one more year. Deserves one more chance. And I thought that at the end of the second year, you rip the Band-Aid off, you potentially get a better option at head coach. I thought that would be the correct route. I saw through 10 or 12 minutes of the first quarter of the first game before the Cardinals went up 3 scores for the majority of the rest of the game that Cliff Kingsbury was showing us what he showed us last year. Just the inability to run an offense with call plays, without having to burn timeouts, without getting frivolous penalties. And sure, a lot of it's on the players, okay? It is. But if you're having issues with snap counts, it's an issue with the cohesion of that offensive line and the offense as a whole. And that stems back to the head coach, especially when the head coach does nothing with the defense and the offense is his baby, okay? So when I tweeted out, if you think Cliff Kingsbury is equipped to be a head coach, you may need to reconsider. That was during that time when they went on their offensive run where Kyler Murray bailed them out for the first touchdown of DeAndre Hopkins, the 3rd and long to Rondale Moore, where he was running around like a crazy person behind the line of scrimmage. The Christian Kirk play was a broken play. Kyler Murray did a lot of it. So all I'm saying is good for Cliff. He called a great game when the game was in hand. Okay. I just wonder that if those issues are going to continue throughout the season, and when there are close games, they're magnified. Obviously, it didn't matter on Sunday because the Cardinals played a great game. He had a great, he called great plays. That's fine. But that's not how the game started, and that's what worries me for the rest of the season, not just about Sunday. I'm super excited about what happened with the Cardinals on Sunday. You got to give the dude credit. But we saw some things.
Already then. Give him credit.
I did.
No,
but
you're giving him these backhanded compliments that it's not necessary. I mean, you can die on a hill, but I don't recommend trying to die on this hill, especially after a dominating week 1 win. It just don't. It just doesn't make any sense. I think, people are excited about this team. Obviously, you should have, your reservations. You should be skeptical, or not skeptical, but you should kind of take this with a grain of salt. It was a playoff team in the last 2 seasons, the Tennessee Titans. They're a good team, but man, are they a flawed team? Well, and the Arizona Cardinals were able to take advantage of that. The slow start, yeah, it was slow. Everybody can admit that, but at the end of the day, the Arizona Cardinals offense dominated. And I've talked to a couple people, and some of them actually agree with you, which shocked me. Some people that I actually respect, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, is like, well, those are broken plays, and that's Kyler making a play, but that's part of the equation. I mean, he's going to do that with any head coach. I just feel like Cliff Kingsbury can't do anything to satisfy what you're looking for right now. Like, Cliff Kingsbury could go and save a family of 5, its dog, from a burning building, and you'd be like, well, they
should have been family of 6.
They could have gotten out of there on their own, and the Beanie Baby collection, it was lost in the fire. What happened to the Beanie Baby collection?
Where did the trust fund go?
You're never gonna be satisfied, and I think that's where you just like, all right, if people are praising Cliff Kingsbury, which not a ton of people are, there's not like a lot of people just coming out and singing his praises right now. There's nobody on the top of Camelback Mountain like shouting that Cliff Kingsbury is going to the Coach of the Year. But if somebody praises Cliff Kingsbury, just sit this one out. Just sit this one out. You don't have to say, well, I what about the penalties? The penalties, if you look at it, I mean, it's happening all around the league. It's early. The refs are just getting into the swing of things as well. And I like that Cliff got on the ass of the officials yesterday, got on the ass of the players, and things got a little bit better, at least as far as taking care of the flags on the field.
So who was the stronger side? What was the stronger side of the ball yesterday or Sunday? Offense or defense?
It's tough to decipher. But yeah, look, the defense set the tone. But that's not
what. And what does Cliff do for the defense?
What does Cliff do for the defense? We know what Cliff does for the defense. It's not his department. It's not his department. I just look. You're not going to win an argument by saying, "Well, look at how well the defense played." It's not an indictment on Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury,
but he shouldn't get credit for that either. Is what I'm saying. He should.
He's the head coach, and if he's
the head coach of the offense,
if he's empowering the defensive coordinator Vance Joseph and letting him and delegating, him everything and to be the head coach of the defense, then there's credit there. There's credit there. It's fine. Like, what is there's several coaches around the league, and you're just like, what? It's the two Bobs in Office Space. It's like, what would you say you do here? What does Mike Vrabel do for the Tennessee Titans? It's Sean McVay sometimes. He doesn't have the play calling duties anymore. He's got a defensive coordinator. It's like Sean McVay is kind of like the CEO right now of the Rams. Obviously, he's got his hands in a lot of things.
I want Cliff Kingsbury to succeed. I do.
I don't know about that.
I do. It'd be easier. You wouldn't have to do a shift change. What I saw yesterday was a coach that was budding from where he was last year. Absolutely. It didn't start that way. And that's where the tweets came out. That was it. I hope he succeeds. Hopefully we don't have to talk about this ever again because I'm getting exhausted. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. This is going to be so exciting. We're going to go petty starting tomorrow. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is your petty headquarters. The Locked On Cardinals boys go petty starting tomorrow. We're doing crossover Thursday with Luke Braun from the Minnesota Vikings. It's going to be such a fun week, man. Like, it's all rainbows and butterflies right now. It's awesome. You have a home game coming home against pretty much the same structure of an offense. 2 great wide receivers, 1 all-world running back, and a quarterback with limitations, I mean, you probably choose Ryan Tannehill in a pick one over Kirk Cousins at this point, especially after their loss to Cincinnati. A lot of fun things are happening. Coming up next, power rankings out after week one. I know there's there was a game last night where it didn't account for, but the Cardinals ranked pretty high on a lot of them, and we'll run those down in the way too early power rankings next. Locked on Cardinals, but first we're back and better than ever. Heading into week 2, all eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back to continue another football season. BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, betonline.ag continues to be the number one source for everything football. So again, as we've said for the last year and a half now, go to the website or use your mobile device and sign up today to receive your 100% welcome bonus. That's double your initial deposit just for signing up. Don't forget to use promo code NFL100. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, second segment, Alex Clancy, Bo Brack. Follow him at Bo Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Bo, you look a little bit more rested. Is Mr. Gray Brock treating you a little bit nicer?
You know what? My son's starting to sleep through the night. It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what's better, like the win on Sunday or the fact that my son has strung together a bunch of nights in a row where he's just going, a full solid 8. Like, good for him. Like, let's give him a good pat on the back. He's crushing the sleep game at night.
Well, that's fantastic. It's good for me too, because, I can actually live on my schedule again. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On Arizona Cardinals. I kid. We make this work and incredibly well. And this is
sleeping the other day. I was like, that damn Cliff Kingsbury keeping my son up. That bastard, K2.
It's not very nice. You should take it easier on Cliff Kingsbury. He's trying his best. So you should listen to me about that. So power rankings came out. AZ Central did the work for us here and put out a list of way too early power rankings after week 1. Fansided, Russell Baxter is one of the more respected names in football. He's a great Twitter follow. We follow each other on Twitter. He has the Arizona Cardinals at number 5 through week 1. Let's see here. Sportsnod has the Cardinals climb up to number 6. NFL Spin Zone has the Cardinals jump up to number 7. NBC Sports has the Cardinals at 9. And our boys from Pro Football Network, Cody Rourke over there, the Cardinals are now at 13. So where would you we watched a lot of bad football yesterday or on Sunday. There were a lot of teams that just were slow out of the gate, whether it be, the Vikings or the Cardinals are going to see in week 2. The Packers look terrible. It's all week, it's week 1. You can't really tell everything. You can't tell the whole story, obviously, in a 17-week season. 6 to 13. Are you going to put the Cardinals as high as 5 or 6?
How many NFC West teams are ahead of them? All of them? It's for even when they're as high as 5. Are there 3 other teams in the NFC?
I would probably put. You think Tampa Bay would be ahead of them? I didn't see the full list, but yeah, I mean, all the NFC West teams are going to be in the top 10. They're the only division that had every team win their game. There's I think 3 divisions that have teams with 1 win or less total.
Yeah, I mean the NFC North is winless, right?
Yep.
But the NFC West, they had an unbeaten first week. And I think most dominating, I mean, the Arizona Cardinals are in the conversation for the most dominating win, up there with the LA Rams. Seattle was impressive. And then San Francisco relinquished a lead. It's kind of weird to see a Kyle Shanahan coach team relinquish a lead. I've never seen that before. I mean, he was only part of one of the worst collapses in Super Bowl history. Isn't it odd? I don't know. Oh, that big run game. You'd think that they could sit on a lead and put a game away. They couldn't. But yeah, I think that the Arizona Cardinals is exactly where kind of that ballpark you said. Like, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid enough to where I'm like, okay, yeah, top 5. But I think that they have, with their performance on Sunday, as far as, because preseason rankings mean nothing. And then also you have to take the week 1 results with a grain of salt. Like, we know that the Packers aren't going to be, save the last dance instead of the last dance. They're going to be somewhere in between. They're going to rebound from a 38-3 just shellacking. But maybe they're just not as good as we thought they were. I think the Arizona Cardinals, as you said, probably like 6-13 right now. I think that's a kind of a fair ballpark for them. And then, but the sky's the limit. They really could, with the players they have on the roster, ascend to maybe a top 5 spot.
Yeah, just like last year where the Cardinals started, warm. They went on the road to the 49ers, they won, and then they beat the Washington football team at home pretty handily. Yeah. And then they lose to Detroit at home and then Carolina on the road. Buda Baker was out against Carolina. Detroit, Kyler Murray threw 3 interceptions, I believe, in week 3 at home. And obviously, things have changed so much because of the fans in the stands. Like, I wonder, you asked Todd Furman about this, and it's interesting. For sports bettors, it's 3 points goes to the home team. So if the home team is favored by 3 going into the game, it's pretty much a pick 'em if we're on a neutral field. I wonder if that's elevated. I wonder if it's 4 points or 4.5 points now, because we're not used to playing. You're not used to going on the road and playing against a stadium full of opponents' teams' fans.
Yeah.
So obviously the Cardinals were able to do that. So, but when the Cardinals come home, it's going to be an interesting dynamic on Sunday against Minnesota. But the Cardinals, just like last year, they've got Minnesota at home. They got Jaguars on the road. So you say Minnesota at home is like Washington, and then Carolina's kind of like Jacksonville. Jacksonville's not as good as Carolina was last year. But you got a couple winnable games early, and then they go on the road to the Rams, at home against the 49ers, and then on the road to Cleveland, bing, bang, boom. Yeah. So, yes, not too high, not too low right now, sure. They're going to get a little bit head start in the marathon, but it's 3 weeks in a row. We're going to find out pretty much right away kind of what the way too early prediction for the playoffs is going to be through 6 weeks, right? It's a perfect litmus test right in the middle. Right. 2 road games against 2 teams that have better rosters than the Cardinals right now. I guess you could say the Rams maybe not, but Matthew Stafford looked great against Chicago in that defense. You have San Francisco at home where you don't really know what you're going to play interdivisionally.
Yeah, it's they got to take care of business. We can't see any kind of Jekyll and Hyde. We can't see a letdown like we did in those couple weeks that you mentioned with Detroit and Carolina. That was brutal. You have to win those games. You have to take care of business against squads like that, because Jacksonville, they just looked overmatched against what we thought was going to be the worst team in the NFL, and the Houston Texans. The Texans and Tyrod Taylor, they look like they were going to win the AFC South in that contest, and we know that can't be true. That's one of those week 1 anomalies where you're just like, okay, like they're going to get a big win, and then they're going to fall back to earth, and they could be Jacksonville like they were last year, where they don't win a game the rest of the season. So, this is such an important time, especially in this division, to stack wins. You just got to stack wins. You got to take care of business, and you can't let yourself slip at all.
Yeah, and if you look at it and the Cardinals lose week 1, everything changes. And it's not like way too early, get too high, too low after week 1. They have 9 road games. They're playing against a former, a playoff team from the last 2 years, AFC Championship game, and they get a W the way they did. It completely flips the course of the season.
Yeah,
mentally.
You have to.
It's like the antithesis of the 2016 Open against New England.
Yeah,
where it's like they were dead. It's different. It's the polar opposite.
You got to be more like the 2015 team, where there was expectations. You knew you had a good squad, and when you're going up against an inferior opponent, that you're just going to take care of business. You weren't going to slip up. And sure, like the old cliche, it rings true. Sure, any given Sunday, but you have to. Good teams take care of it against bad teams. And what's coming up, like Minnesota, I saw somebody call Minnesota a tough team. It was Bengals fans, and it was just like, no, they're not. They've struggled. How long have they struggled? They've been one of the more inconsistent teams that have underachieved year in, year out. Even more so than Arizona has lately. So I think that you gotta beat Minnesota at home. You gotta send old P3, old Petty Patrick Peterson, a message that this organization that you took shots at, it's actually in a pretty good spot. Did you know that Byron Murphy outplayed Patrick Peterson in week 1? I don't think that surprises anybody.
No, AJ Brown's a top 6, top 7 receiver in this league, and the touchdown catch off the turnover from Kyler Murray was the one outlier. He played great. Yeah. Byron Murphy played great. He looks like he gained weight, but he also slimmed down. He's toned up. Like he looks like a cornerback 1.
Yeah, he does.
He really does.
He looks like he's going to be a household name soon. He was targeted 7 times. Byron Murphy was. He gave up three catches, and he had a PFF grade of 76.3. Patrick Peterson gave up 3 catches on 4 targets. the Joe Burrow was 75% going against P3.
Yeah, not so much a lockdown anymore. Not so much Fort Knox anymore. Alex, Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. I'm going to do I'm going to pull a mulligan here for the last segment. Bo doesn't know this yet. We'll talk about which side of the football was less of an anomaly. Which one can you trust to replicate the offense or the defense moving forward in some fashion? Alex, Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. First, rockauto.com. So I'm in San Diego for a work event, and I still need stuff for my car, and I could – I don't need to go to a chain storefront. I can look at my computer like I have up right now and go to rockauto.com and get the tail lamps that I still haven't gotten yet because mine are starting to flash and I need it, but rockauto.com has got me covered. Go to rockauto.com. You just type what you want in the search box, or you can, peruse around the website instead of driving down and, asking questions, walking into a chain storefront. You have no idea where anything is. Everything's overpriced. And, it's not a family-owned business that's been online for 20 years like Rock Auto. The prices are reliably low, and whether it be for your, daily driver, do it yourself weekend car that you're fixing up to take to a, competition or whatever, like one of my buddies is this weekend, rockauto.com's got you covered. Go to rockauto.com, write Locked On in there, how did you hear about us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need, rockauto.com. Bo?
I had a blast yesterday because I was able to merge Cardinals game, which was actually happening in real time, in my on-demand stories. No, I'm not. I'm kidding. My on-demand shows. I'm not 97 years old. I was excited because for the first time, it wasn't like, okay, go from live TV and then go into the menu and then go find my on-demand favorites, because they're together like never before, because DirecTV Stream can take your favorite sports, movies, and shows and put them all in one place. They're getting your TV together. There's no annual contract. That's the best part with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com.
All right. Final segment, Locked On Cardinals. Follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you to everybody who joined us for the pregame show. I don't know if we're going to do that again. That might be a game time decision every Sunday, but every halftime we will be going live on Twitter and YouTube. We had a blast, man, answering your questions, talking about the first half. This was a treat. It was Bo and my birthday come early, talking about what we saw in the first half against the Cardinals, where they were up 24-6 against the Titans in a fully dominant performance, holding Derrick Henry to under 10 yards in the first half rushing. Like, it was really a picturesque. This is exactly what you wanted the Arizona Cardinals to implement and utilize, and they did, and they're 1-0, tied for first with the other three teams in the NFC West. So both sides of the football balled out. Chandler Jones, 5 sacks, 2 strip sacks. Kyler Murray, 5 total touchdowns. Christian Kirk, 2 touchdowns. Deandre Hopkins, 2 touchdowns. The rush attack, 140 yards total, about 136 or so. Kyler Murray only rushed the ball 4 or 5 times. It was a picturesque, this is how you want to win a game, especially on the road against a playoff team. Bo, moving forward, which side of the ball do you trust to replicate 80% of what we saw on Sunday against Tennessee?
The defense. I mean, because I thought we saw more of consistent output from this defense last year. And, as far as slipping up, I think it's a little bit easier. I mean, and here's why. I mean, you have Chandler Jones go for 5 sacks. You're not expecting that same production in week 2. That'd be absolutely nuts, because you got to imagine that the Minnesota Vikings are going to adjust for that. But then if they do, what are they going to do with J.J. Watt? I mean, it's like that's why you get that type of nightmare fuel for offensive coordinators. It's like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to deal with this Chandler Jones, number 55. And then next thing you know, J.J. Watt's going for 2.5 sacks, 3 sacks in that contest. He's batting down balls. He's getting the strip sacks, or Marcus Golden is coming free. Zach Allen, who had a very good game under the radar for the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, it's just they've got enough guys. They've got enough horses right now to where I think they can consistently do it week in and week out. The offense has to prove me wrong, right? I mean, we're still waiting to see them string together a bunch of games that look like week 1 did.
And it's weird. I'm going to take the other side. I think it's going to be the offense. And I think it's the reason why is I trust Cliff Kingsbury more than, I've let on over the last, few weeks. We saw good things on Sunday. We did. Whether it be Kyler Murray bailing out, but you're right. I mean, Russell Wilson bails out whoever the offensive coordinator is in Seattle all the time. If it's not a pure rush attack like you have in Cleveland, you're going to have great players make great plays to bail out everybody. I just think that it's very difficult to be a lockdown defense for 17 weeks in this day and age of the NFL with such potency in offense. Penalties are always going towards the offense, things like that. Kyler Murray is the best player on the field, and you have to trust that he can do things that other players cannot. So that's why I'd probably say the offense, but it's by a hair, and it's just DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver in the league, in my opinion. We saw what Devontae Adams was when there was a defense that locked him down, and Aaron Rodgers was pouting like a child at his birthday party, in Jacksonville when they played the Saints. DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver in the league. And I thought that before he got traded here, and I still think that now. And I trust the offense because I trust Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins and Rodney Hudson more than I trust really, Budda Baker and a 31-year-old Chandler Jones getting to the quarterback as much as he did, as you mentioned. And two second-year rookie and a second-year linebacker.
You want to get uncomfortable? Kyle Odegaard actually put this tweet out today. Used to cover the Arizona Cardinals. Now he covers BetUS, I believe. Contributor there. And he said, Larry Fitzgerald, icon, but the Cardinals were hamstrung with him in the slot last year. Now Rondale Moore and Christian Kirk, with them there, Cliff Kingsbury's scheme can flourish. And it's like, did Larry Fitzgerald, was it like one of those old sappy love songs where it's like, if you love something, set it free? Did he set the Cardinals free and give them an opportunity to get younger, get them faster on offense? Because, it's a new era. I mean, as far as being able to put that type of speed on the field, I mean, we saw it on full display. And then to have those guys just running amok all over the field, and then you have the two guys on the outside, and DeAndre Hopkins and AJ Green, it can be lethal, especially if Kyler Murray's going to continue to take that step in his third year.
Yeah, it's interesting. No, I don't. I mean, I think they didn't pay him enough, and he didn't want to play.
I know we don't want to.
I wonder how long Kyle. I mean, because he was with the Cardinals for a long time. Like, I wonder how much he was able to say what he wanted to say, and if he was waiting for this tweet. I have no idea.
I have no idea for a long time.
I mean, maybe. I mean, it was in drafts for a long time.
It was a folded up paper, and it was in a locker somewhere. And then he undid it. He's like, okay, now's the time. Now's the time where people will not, show up on my front lawn with pitchforks and a flame.
Yeah. So we're gonna get out of here. I am officially gonna put a moratorium on any sort of negative comments about Cliff Kingsbury until this time next week, regardless of what happens on Sunday. We talked about
getting ready tomorrow. That's because
because we have bigger things, bigger fish to fry. We have bigger issues to deal with tomorrow. Cliff, I mean, just looking briefly into it, that the way to get Kirk Cousins off his game, because Minnesota could put up a 40 burger any day. You just don't know when it's going to happen. Is just get him out of his kitchen, just like the Cardinals did with Ryan Tannehill. And if Van Jones can implement some sort of blitz package, or not even if the pass rush is working the way that it did, we could be looking the same thing. I will put a 100% 1 week moratorium on any sort of negative Cliff Kingsbury content. Until Monday of next week.
They should take that as a bit of a win, knowing how stubborn you are. But also, I think one thing they should consider to do, as far as also making Kirk Cousins uncomfortable, is change the clocks to prime time in the stadium, because he sucks.
I like that a lot. And don't play Creed. He loves Creed. Do not play Creed as his walk-up music. Alex, Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals. We'll talk to you tomorrow.